Alright, hello everyone. In today's video, I'll be talking about, and also giving my thoughts on bolt guns in Warhammer 40k tabletop. I'm going to be having a bolt gun from Warhammer 40k Darktide in the background, just to kind of give an idea. So, hey, I'm specifically talking about old bolters. This is not referring to bolt rifles, inferno bolt guns, heavy bolters, heavy bolt rifles. This is purely talking about my thoughts on combi bolters, storm bolters, and bolt guns. And by bolt guns, this is also including the general profiles for the Sisters of Battle, Chaos Space Marines. So, bear that in mind. I'm also going to be referring to bolt pistols at from times because they are also fairly similar. I mean, their data sheet is practically the same as the Sisters of Battle bolt gun, just hits on 3s instead of hitting on 4s and doesn't have rapid fire. This is completely unscripted, just my thoughts. I'm also trying to make up for not having an upload yesterday. My bad. The weekend was kind of busy. My general thoughts on the bolt gun, and just from my experience using, playing Chaos Space Marines and, using bolt guns, using combi bolters, and then also playing something like Space Marines and having access to storm bolters with Terminators, and then my friend Tyler, who recently just got into 40k, and yesterday was teaching him how to play. He decided he wants to play Grey Knights, so he's using a lot of storm bolters. And in my experience, and from what I've noticed, fighting, an army that uses a lot of just normal bolter fire, is the bolt guns do feel kind of underwhelming to a degree. Now, I also know that is entirely dependent on what faction you're fighting. If you're fighting, let's say, Gene Stealer Colts, and there's a lot of the I think it's neophyte and units, the small guardsman-esque units, and yeah, your bolters should be able to chew through them no problem, right? They're only toughness 3. They have, I think, 5 up or 6 up saves. Like, yeah, bolters are gonna do fine. Is what it is. It's no different than shooting a bolter into Imperial Guardsmen or shooting it into Chaos Cultists. that's I think that's perfectly reasonable and it's perfectly fine. But it's more of when you start dealing with armies that are more like Space Marines, right, in terms of their profile, strength 4, 3 up saves, or or higher toughness, right, like Death Guard, or you're talking about Necrons, and what have you. And I think that's where it's like, ooh, bolters start feeling really bad now, or not really really bad, but just more like they start feeling not awesome. Let's just say, right? Like they can still do something. They can still, you can still hit your shots. You can still get wounds through. You can still do some chip damage. But it's more like, okay, well, you have less ideal targets. And if you're fighting, let's say, an army of just, hey, it is Space Marines. Yeah, you're technically that entire army is less ideal targets. Like in my, as an immediate example, yesterday when in the game I was teaching my friend Tyler how to play, him shooting into my stuff generally didn't do a whole lot, although he did manage to plank one wound off of my Land Raider. But other than that, usually it's like, hey, when he would shoot his storm bolters from his Grey Knights, whether it be the Terminators or the Strike Squad Marines, not a whole lot would happen. Like, a whole lot of shooting would happen, but not a whole lot of anything like beyond that would happen. The main things that would, like, in that game that he would ever shoot that would do something would be the Dread Knights, but Dread Knights are Dread Knights. They're completely different. And then, like, conversely, for me, when I would shoot into anything of his, with my bolt guns from my Chosen or bolt pistols from my Legionnaires, it would also kind of amount to a whole lot of nothing. Whether I'm shooting into the Strike Squad Marines, Purifiers, or any of the Terminator units. So it's just kind of like, okay, this is rough feeling. And granted, this is no different than how it felt before for me when it's like, oh yeah, fighting Necrons, right? Necrons are a average toughness 5 army. Yeah, on average they have like 1 to, like, they have like less than the wounds. So it's like, if you shoot into Necrons, chances are, like in the case of Immortals, if anything gets through the wound and they take damage from it, they're losing a model. So that's fine. And then I know it gets worse. If you fight, if you're fighting Death Guard, they're toughness 6, 2 wounds, I think, with 3 up saves. So you're still wounding on 5s, and it just, now this may come across as like, oh, well, I'm griping about how I just wish the bolt gun, was good at everything. By no means, no. I don't think that that's not my issue. My issue with the bolt gun is just more of it feels bad when you tend to fight armies that don't have less than toughness 4 uh units, right? Because at least in my local meta, I guess you say within my friend group or friend groups, you have the Necrons that I fight against Necrons, I fight against Tyranids, I fight against Tau, and then now it's Grey Knights. Although my friend Tyler, who's getting into this, is considering playing the Sororitas. So if he plays a Sororitas, then that's a lower toughness army on average. But overall, I mean, things have been it's felt rough. Now it's like it's more specifically felt rough when fighting the Necrons because that's just an army that across the board has you know toughness 5 or higher on average. So that of course is going to feel rough. And then if the Tau, it's more of like, well, most of the time for like their breacher squads or even I think stealth suits or what have you, it's like their toughness 3, maybe 4. So your incidental bolt gun fire is gonna actually do something, you know. So it's just my kind of quick and dirty thoughts. And then like my friend, after yesterday's game, after we concluded that, which overall the game went fairly well. Um, I ended up winning, but I wasn't trying to beat him down to discourage him from trying to learn. Game overall went smooth, but it was just a matter of like, Grey Knights are Grey Knights. They're gonna get outnumbered by most of whatever you throw at them. Was kind of a struggle and a pain. I did end up losing a lot of stuff, but I still had enough to where it's like, yeah, had board control. My 2 Predator Destructors and my 1 Land Raider weren't really damaged or taken down at all. So even though I lost my Chosen, I lost my Legionnaires and my Possessed, I still had Vashtor on the field. I still had those tanks. I still had my Chaos Cultists, this is the first game that my Chaos Cultists have actually survived from beginning to end. Um, it went well, and my friend, he kind of he had a complaint, and maybe this is more of like a Grey Knights complaint than it is like a Bolter complaint, but it's kind of they go hand in hand. Is that when you fight it, like his gripe was, when you fight an army that is kind of tough or tougher, like on average, bolters don't feel that good to shoot them, like to shoot. That isn't to say that they can't do something. Like my friend shot into my Land Raider just because why not, right? Like heck, like fuck it, right? Within rapid fire range, can make 4 shots each. Why not try to attack the Land Raider just to see if it can hurt anything? And 1 wound got through, right? Land Raider failed 1 save, it took 1 damage. Why not, right? But it's I can see where the gripe is, the gripe comes from, and that was why I initially moved away from playing Space Marines. I know Space Marines use the bolt rifle, which has higher AP. It also has the assault and heavy keywords, so like there's more to it than just the standard bolt guns that Chaos Space Marines and the Sororitas use, and especially compared to Storm Bolters and Combi Bolters. But same just overall feeling of like, man, like this feels kind of like whack, right? When your main like gun being the bolt gun or bolt rifle just feels a little underwhelming, like a little half baked. Not saying that it doesn't have a place. Not saying that there isn't a niche for using it. If as I said earlier, if you're fighting an army that is just Imperial Guardsmen and it's just nothing but Krieg, right? It's just nothing but Krieg infantry. You maybe have like you're dealing with some artillery in the back, but it's other than that, it's nothing but infantry. Yeah, the bolt gun's gonna do fine. The bolt gun's gonna do fine, right? You're fighting nothing but Hormagaunts and Termagaunts and Barbgaunts and Neurogaunts from a Tyranid army, or Spore Mines all on top of that. Yeah, you're good because it's like toughness 3 average, units. It's especially, I think it was more like especially rough for my friend because it's like the Grey Knights as an army are basically just an army that only have bolters effectively for their main guns. Yeah, you can have a heavy weapon model in a strike squad. Yeah, you can have purifiers or purgation squads or whatnot that have different weapons. That is true, but just on average, hey, storm bolters are across the board on the in the army, and I can get where my friend's criticism was. Granted that this is moving away from talking about bolters. The melee option, the melee weapons for Grey Knights, pretty pretty painful. They do hurt. But yeah, but with that, guys, that's just my quick and dirty thoughts on thoughts and kind of experience with the just talking about bolt guns, and also giving a little insight to just how my friend who's new to the hobby, new to the game, less of the hobby, his thoughts on it. If you guys enjoy or agree or disagree, feel free to like the video and comment down below. Hey, do you think bolt guns are a little underwhelming? Do you wish bolt guns were maybe a bit more similar to bolt rifles for the Space Marines? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a bad idea? Let me know in the comments section down below. But with that, guys, that'll be it from me. Sorry for not uploading yesterday. Just the weekend was very busy. But until next time, guys, I hope you guys have a great time wherever you may find yourself, whether that be studying for exam, being at work, on your way home, or just chilling in your bed with your dog or your cat or whatever pet you own. Hope you're having a great time. And until the next time, we'll see you later. Peace.